understand is how jQuery additional plugins are used. Actually, you will hear about these kind of plugins concept regularly. Actually, plugins are nothing but a plugin is nothing but a small software tool which is integrated into your browser to handle a specific functionality. Several third-party plugins will be there. We have to use these plugins and use them for various types of interactions. For example, suppose you are trying to create. So you are trying to create a table, and that table we want to show form so that user can add records, delete records, update records. We need to create a UI. Then generally in real world development, you will not design a grid. You will not design a grid with all jQuery bootstrap. It is time waste. So nobody will ask you also. That means in a company, nobody will ask you like create a jQuery grid. They will simply ask you that use a jQuery grid. Online, you can see here, suppose I am searching here, Google. So here online, you say jQuery grid. So grid, you can see so many jQuery grid plugins will come. These are all jQuery widgets. We have to borrow from third parties. When you open this jQuery grids, that means so many are there. I will show you how to implement them. One example I will tell you. So many options are here. Now, when you select one option here, this is some jQuery widgets. In that, they will give you a grid plugin. You can see this is a jQuery grid. They've just given you a sample of that jQuery grid. And how that grid works. It works with data binding, sorting, filtering, paginations, editing, nested grids. So many options are available inside this grid. So now they will never ask you to design such grids. So they will ask you to put the data in such grids. Designing such grids requires a lot of coding and it is waste of time. Any real world developer don't waste time in designing all this. You know that already we use Bootstrap and everything. We simply design such grids by implementing these third parties. These third party, what do is they will provide you all the plugin. That means library. They will provide the library. What you have to do is you have to download that library. You have to go to the documentation. You have to get the source code of that particular. Suppose you want a calendar. Already we saw jQuery have a jQuery UI, but I told limited. These kind of third parties are required in real-time development. Some third parties are free to use. Some third parties are, you need to buy them. For example, there is a chart here. You can see jQuery is providing you to design a chart like this. We can design a chart like this. For that, whatever library is required, they will provide you that library. And you have to import that library and you have to design your data and you have to use the logic in presenting the data. Just what you have to do is you have to customize that logic that they have given to you. That means all the settings they will give, you have to just modify it and you will achieve this. Many times in interviews, they ask such things like, do you know any graphs? Do you know any grids in jQuery? Then you have to explore them. You have to design by yourself and you have to borrow from third parties. Some are free. You can directly import them and you can use them. They are provided by the third parties. Some you need to buy them. For example, I told you already. So Telerik, this is Telerik people. So this is very popular. And this is Telerik is providing third parties. This is also third party, but it is, you have to pay. You see Telerik providing support for NASA. They provide support for Microsoft, Samsung. That means they provide software support for NASA-like people. Then you can understand their abilities. But it is not free. You see, it is pricing. So you have to buy these widgets. You have to buy them. When you buy them, they will give you the plugins. That means ready-made component designs. For example, I show you here. Suppose let's go to the demos. You see jQuery, yeah, UI jQuery demos are there. In the jQuery, only jQuery date picker in UI. I showed you accordion, but jQuery has a lot of things. But these are all not by default available. They are developed by some third parties. What you have to do is we have to get them, borrow them from these third parties and use them. You cannot get everything simply. Suppose I open the grid, then this is actually jQuery grid. They will give you the demo for that grid, how that grid is used. You can see this grid is showing the content in this way. So if you want to design such grids, so these grids are defining the options, filtering, sorting, such things we can display based